Thanks for joining me in the SugarCRM Power Hour with me, Jeff Bickart. Last time we talked about adding some SMS capabilities to SugarCRM, and we're going to review our user stories and then go ahead and jump into Module Builder and be able to start looking at how we go ahead and add the modules that we need in order to make this happen. So as you can see in our user stories, essentially we want the ability to be able to send an SMS message from within Sugar, whether I'm on a contact or a lead. I also want to receive some notification if I am receiving an SMS, and I want the ability to send via a template, and I want to give some capabilities to an SMS or to an administrator to be able to provide some additional capabilities along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump over to Module Builder and show you how to get started with doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to Sugar, and I've logged into SugarCRM Enterprise, so I could show you it's 7.6.1.0. It's a basic installation. I haven't done any customizations. It's a brand new install of Sugar, and I have the ability to customize my dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over and create my modules under admin. So I'm going to jump over to admin. Once I get into here, I'm going to head over to Module Builder, which allows us to add new modules inside of Sugar. You'll notice I haven't created anything as of yet. We want to build 3 modules inside of Sugar. We're going to start with talking about what you can do with Module Builder. So I'm going to create a new package. A package is a grouping of modules together. Essentially, we want 3 tabs or capabilities added to Sugar. We are not going to create them all into a single package. We are going to create each individual module in its own package. The reason why I choose to do this is so that if I need to go back and edit one of the individual modules, I don't affect any of the other modules that were in the same package. So I essentially build one package. So I'm going to build my first one as SMS template, and it is built by me. And the key that we put in here is important. It's what shows up in the modules directory. So is it owned by a particular company? Who is adding it? So for us, we're going to use PH for Power Hour, and we can put a description in here. We can add some information on the README. For now, I'm not interested in either of those. The description would help some other developer understand what you are building this particular module for. We're going to skip that for now. The README would also be part of information that would get installed as part of the installation. Once we've created our package, we want to go ahead and add a new module. So in here, we're going to add a module. A module name allows us to indicate how it will appear in the modules directory and in custom modules. So we're going to call this the SMS template, and we're going to call it, they're going to give it a label. So our label is going to be SMS templates, and our singular label is just going to be SMS template. And we want the ability to provide users the ability to import templates from their local environment, so we can add the importing capability. We want to be able to give team security, so maybe only certain users within your organization can use certain templates, and as well as provide a navigation tab across the top. We do want the ability to allow people to be able to create new SMS templates. Now we have to choose which type of object we want to create. A basic module, which is what we're going to use, has all of the core feature functionality that is needed inside of Sugar, things like a name, who it's assigned to, what teams that is created, a date created, a date modified, and a description field. A company is much like the accounts module, where you would have a company name, industry, billing address, and things along those lines. We are not interested in that. A file would give you the ability to upload a file to the system, much like notes. It would include things like a document type, as well as the date that it would be published. An issue is much like cases inside of Sugar. It would have a number and some issues and problems of what's going on, a status. A person is like a contact or a lead. We're not building a contact or a lead, so we're not going to use that. And a sale is much like an opportunity and has things like amounts. So we're going to go ahead and select basic. And once we've done that, we're going to save our module. And from here, we get some additional buttons, and we're going to get started with some fields. So our basic fields are that each record inside of the database will have an ID. We'll have a name or a subject of our message, which will not get sent to the user. It's just a way that we can select which different template we're going to be using. The date created, the date modified are standard things that are stored inside of the system, so we know when it was created, when it was modified, who created it, whether or not the record was deleted. If it's deleted, it's not visible on the screen. Who the record is particularly assigned to, and that comes into play when it deals with roles, and it's so that we just essentially know what's happening there. What we're going to do is we're going to change the label for description, and we're actually going to call it message, and we can indicate how many rows and how many columns a person will see on the screen. We're going to leave it blank. We're going to say that it's a required field. It's going to be audited so that we have the ability to know that it is always there. So we're going to save that. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our screens. And we have some layouts here. So our record view is what is done inside of creating something. And what we really want is the ability to create the message. And so we're going to drag that up into the upper part. And we're less interested in the assigned to and the team. So we're actually going to move that into the more section. And right now we have these displaying as panels, but we could display them as tabs. For us, it's less important. We can also collapse the show more. So we're going to collapse that by default. And we're going to save this. And then on our list view, we're also going to go into our layouts here and look at our list view, and we're going to say we're less interested in that, but we do want to see these things, so we'll drag these over here. We might want to see who it was modified by, so we can include that. So we're going to add those into our list views, and from here we've pretty much indicated all the things that we are interested in. So we're just going to leave the rest of the way. Actually, we'll add mobile layout. So we can see in our mobile list view, and we actually want the description here. We're less interested in this. We're less interested in this. And on our mobile layouts, we also want our record view. Oops. We want our mobile layouts and our mobile edit view. We need to make sure that we include the message. So we'll add that. We'll go back to our mobile layouts and go to our mobile detail view, and again add in just simple drag and drop to be able to add the different fields that we want. And so now what we'll do is we'll go back to our package here, make sure it's saved. And what we're going to do is, at this point we haven't related anything together. We're going to go ahead and set this up to be deployed in our local environment. So we can save our package, we can copy our package, we can deploy, which means that it goes to our local instance, which is what we are interested in. We can also take our package and publish it, which makes it a zip file so that it can actually be put together and installed via module loader into any instance of Sugar. We can export it, which makes it so it's available again inside of module builder, say in somebody else's environment. And we can, of course, delete our package. So for us, we're going to go ahead and deploy our package. And while this is deploying, it's actually going to go ahead and add a new tab on our system. It will reload our screens, and you'll be able to see that we now have a new module, SMS templates. And in here I have the ability to create a new template, and let's call it, since it's Halloween, Halloween sale. And we can go ahead into our message and just say, did you know we are having a sale? Okay, so something simple, an SMS message template. And what we'll want to be able to do later is be able to take this information and be able to include it automatically when we send an SMS message. So right now, that's the simple part that we're working on. Now that we've gone ahead and created our template, we need the ability to actually send a message to a contact or a lead. So we're going to head on over back to Module Builder by going to Admin, Module Builder. And as we mentioned previously, I want to create a new package because I don't want our two packages to conflict with each other. So I'm going to call my package SMS Messages, and I am the author. And our key is an important part so that we know who created this particular module. It is done by me. I'm going to create a new module in my package. It's going to be basic. It's going to be called SMS Messages. And our plural label is going to be messages, and our singular label is going to be message. And we do not want people to be able to import. We do want team security, so only certain users can see a message that was sent or received. And we do want a navigation tab so that users have the ability to create directly from above. Again, this is a basic module. I reviewed all of the API documentation, so I have some important things that I know I need to be able to add to this module. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change my description to be called a message. So I have the users have the ability to create a message. And I know I have some new fields I need to add. I need to know who I'm sending a message to, which is going to be a phone number. So I'm going to call it a phone field, and it is the phone recipient. And so this is the label. I spelled it wrong. Recipient. Let's fix that. And I can just put some information number in here. Is the phone number of the recipient. And the phone number itself, I'm not too concerned, but I will make it auditable. And it is a required field, so you have to put a phone number in. So I'll add that field. I'll add an additional field, another phone. So I need another phone number. And this one is going to be who is sending. So I'm going to have the phone sender. That's the phone number that we're sending from. And remember, in our API, we have purchased from our SMS provider some phone numbers. This number needs to be the number that we are sending from. At some point, we will make this so it defaults to our choices of values, or we'll give the user an option to select from a set of phone numbers that our administrator has set up for us. So again, we're going to audit this field and we're going to make it required. We, of course, can change these at a later time. Another field that we need to add in is to know, and we're going to add in a drop-down, and we need to know the status of what is happening. So was the message delivered? What did it fail? Did it get rejected? You know, what has happened? So we're going to go ahead and in here we're going to add a new type, and we're going to call it the Power Hour SMS message status list. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated, and our options are queued. And when we add a list, the item label, which is on the right-hand side, is what gets displayed for the user. The item name is what gets stored in the database, and I am currently using English. And you can, of course, go ahead and define different languages for your different country. I am only going to do English, so I'm going to say sent. And these are the responses that we will get back from our provider once we send a message, and we'll talk about that in a little bit once we actually And we're going to also add in the blank value in here. So that way we can default to blank. And we'll save this. And we'll choose blank. And we don't want it to be mass updatable. It actually, at some point in the future, we are going to make that be a read-only field. So that'll be part of one of our later customizations. We don't want users to be able to change and select a phone number or the status message. It will be read-only because it's going to be provided to us from our provider. We also need a field for the unique ID for the message. So we're going to add in, so this is information that comes back from the provider. It's their ID, so we can actually go back and query the system and find out information about what's happening. So again, this is a required field. It's auditable. We're going to, again, make this be a read-only field, so users cannot be able to see it or be able to edit it. We will make that change later. And so then this is the unique. And one other field that we want to be able to add in is the type or the direction. So we're going to also add in a drop down. We're going to add direction. And we're going to add in a list here, and we're going to call this Power Hour SMS direction. And we're going to say we have two choices, outbound and inbound. We'll call this received. All right, so we're either going to be sending or receiving, so we'll change this to say sending. I'll move this up, and we'll get rid of this one. I don't like that one. So now we'll save this. And we'll say we want it to default to sent. Again, it's a required field. It's audited. And we, again, don't want the users to be able to change that. We'll make that, again, another read-only field at some point in the future. So now that we've created all of this, we want to go ahead and take a look back at our system. One of the things that we want to do is be able to add a relationship. And in here, we're actually going to add in a relationship to be able to receive information back from a related module. And we actually are going to add in, let's go back here. I'm actually going to go in and add some additional fields. Sorry, I forgot. I'm going to add in a field so we know which module we are related to. So we're going to add in a dropdown. And we're going to add a parent type field and a parent ID field. And we'll actually add those in through the code, which will work like how notes work, so that you can actually pick a parent type and a parent ID. What we're going to do is add in a dropdown into the dropdown editor that's only going to have contacts and leads. So we're going to actually leave that for now. We'll go ahead and add in our relationship to the template. So we want to be able to send a message to a template, and we want to have our template be able to select, here's our SMS templates, and what we actually want is not a many-to-many, that would be a subpanel. What we actually want is a field inside of the SMS message. And what we'll do later is we will remove the subpanel out of the SMS templates because it's not important to be able to send a message from a template. What we want is the field inside of the SMS messages so that we can go ahead and send this message. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go back over and look at my layouts here. So I'm going to go to my view layout. And for now, I don't have all the fields that I actually need, but I'm going to get started here. So I'm going to move my messages up to the top, my assign to the bottom. I do want to know if a person has selected a template, because if they've selected a template, I want to update the message. So I'm going to add in a couple new rows here. So I want to know what direction we're sending this. So is it a outbound message or a received message? I want to know who the recipient is. I want to know who the sender is. And eventually what I want to know is some information about what the status of this message is and what the UUID is. So I actually can put those, I'll put those down here at the bottom, so that I know whether or not it was queued, sent, failed, delivered, undelivered, or rejected. And I also will have an ID that came back from the system, so I know more information about it. So it's as simple as that. And so then in our, once we add in our parent type field, we'll update our screens again so that we know some additional information. So once we get here, we can go back to our layouts and we can add into our list view, some information like who the message is, and we can actually change this assigned to actually be, how about sent by? Okay, so we're going to change it to sent by instead of, oops, I changed the wrong thing, so I actually want, this is message, and this one is sent by. And you'll notice that even if you make mistakes, it's easy to change. So I'm just going to go back and change that. All right, simple enough. And let's go check our layouts. I'm going to look at our record view. And update this. Okay, so simple enough. We're just going to go ahead and save this. And once we get to our messages, we're actually going to deploy this. And as this deploys, again, we'll see a new tab that appears on Sugar. So I can come in here and go and look at things like it was sent, it was received, the recipient would be a phone number, the sender would be a phone number, the message that I'm going to send, the UUID, and you'll notice that all of these things are not necessarily exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and head back on over to Module Builder and make a couple changes. So I'm going to go back to Module Builder. Now I can do all these things in Studio, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you that you can make these modifications directly inside of Studio. I'm going to look at my fields, and one of the things was the status was wrong. So I'm going to edit my status, and I actually want the blank field up here. This one was spelled with a lowercase letter, so I want to change that. So I change that. By default, I actually want to be blank. Save that. And we'll go ahead and once again save that. And we'll redeploy our package. And so it takes us back to Module Builder, so we can actually see again our module has been added, and we can go ahead and take a quick look at it. So again, these things are going to be changed so that we're going to put them in a different order, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the code in the next edition of the SugarCRM Power Hour with Jeff Bickart. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you next time.